and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, I'm taking a look at the latest character options online exclusive, the 14th Doctor and the Meep Vortex Edition figure set. So we have a new version of the 14th Doctor without his coat on, which looks great, but of course the star of this particular show is the Meep, one of the most sought-after figures since the Star Beast aired back in 2023, and probably a sought-after figure for fans of Doctor Who Weekly as well. But we'll get into that a little bit more. For now, let's dive straight in and look at the packaging. So the figures come packaged in this lovely window box, very similar to what we've seen before with the Doctor Who range, with the white corners, the diamond Doctor Who logo, the Whittaker Gatwa TARDIS, and as you can see, we've got a new variety of colours here. Normally it's just one sort of colour per Doctor, but this time we have like a full spectrum of colours, and I love that. I think it looks really, really lovely. I'm assuming it's because it's like the 60th anniversary special, so it's like all the colours, all the Doctors. Kind of reminds me of like the Tom Baker Vortex. You've got all the usual sort of diamond box out, high deco Vortex Edition figures, 5.5 inch scale, just telling you a little bit more about what's inside the set. And then on the back we have a synopsis about the episode, The Star Beast from 2023, a little bit more about what the Vortex Edition range is, and then a little bit more about what's inside the set, and also a little quote from the 14th Doctor. And then once you've opened the packaging, it's really lovely to see the return of the diorama backdrop, and it's the rocket that we see at the end of the episode. So out of the box, we have the 14th Doctor, sans coat, and we also have the Meep, looking very cute and timid, as if butter wouldn't melt in its mouth, which we all know is not the case. I'm really thrilled that we've got these two. Obviously, everyone was sort of expecting a 14th Doctor without coat once the first one came out in that regeneration set. But the Meep, like I said at the start, has been a much sought-after figure because the character just stole the show. And like I said at the beginning, if you're a fan of Doctor Who Weekly, this is obviously going to be another draw for you. The character made its first appearance in the Star Beast in the pages of Doctor Who Weekly. I first encountered the character in 1995 in the Doctor Who yearbook, and it's a great character, and I love the fact that they made the jump from print to TV screen. And they did such an amazing job with the character too. Amazingly, this is actually the first sort of Doctor Who alien that isn't a Dalek that we've had since 2022. I think the last one that we got were the Silurians from Warriors of the Deep. Everything else that we've had since have sort of been humanoid or human adjacent, like the Movellans. But this is the first actual creature that we've had for a few years. So I'm really pleased to see another monster in the line. What a fantastic little figure. Looks absolutely amazing. The sculpt is superb. They've done a really fantastic job of capturing the likeness, that sort of bush baby cuteness that the actual costume has. The detail is amazing. I mean, looking at the eyes, you can see all of the little details there in the paint apps with all of the flecks in the irises, those big pupils. There's a lovely sort of gloss over the eyeballs as well, so they really catch the light, so they sort of twinkle, which is really, really nice. The sculpting, like I said, is fantastic. All of the detail of the fur is amazing, and they've just highlighted that with sort of like a slightly off yellow in the fur there, just to make the details of the sculpt stand out. And again, there's like a bit of a grey wash over the top of the head too. Again, just makes those little details pop on the top and around the back. So this looks superb. And then if you look at the ears, now I'm not sure if this will pick up as well on camera as it does in real life, but the ears aren't just solid pink. There's like a slight purpley hue, like a little wash around the edge of the ears. So it just picks out all the fine details and is absolutely superb. And then, of course, you've got the little nose and the lips picked off in pink detailing as well. So the head sculpt is incredible. Absolutely brilliant. It looks just like it does on TV. And then moving down to the body, this is quite a solid figure, particularly the base, because it doesn't have articulation at the legs. We'll talk about the articulation in a bit, but it's quite a hefty little piece for something so small. But again, all of that amazing fur detail in the sculpt just looks fantastic, especially as you go down to the waist. They've done a really lovely job here of hiding the seam of the articulation with this PVC piece that just overlaps over the bottom half of the figure, so it covers up the join, which is really clever. Likewise, with the elbow joints, they've done the same thing. You've got the sort of rubbery overhang here, which again, it hides that join. Really nice, really neat and tidy. And again, we're seeing more of that similar wash, that sort of yellowy, but also a bit of that grey. And it just helps bring out all of the shading in between like the joins of the thighs and around the waist. And if we look down at the Meep's hands, more of that same brilliant sculpting for the hair on the back of the hands. There's some little pink details as well over the knuckles, so that really picks out those details. And then on the Meep's right hand, you can see they've also sculpted on the little bandage that Rose puts around their hand. And again, more of that same paint detailing on the knuckles there. And then if we go down to the bottom, right down to the Meep's feet, you can see, again, really lovely detailed, all those individual toes, almost like little suckers. Again, similar paint apps as with the hands. You've got the sort of pinky detailing on the toes and like the joins of the toes, which looks great. What a fantastic little figure. Looks absolutely amazing. Very cute, brilliant. But of course, it doesn't end there. We also have several accessories for this figure. We have interchangeable hands, and we have, of course, an interchangeable head. I'm so pleased that we have this horrible snarling head, which just looks phenomenal. And you can see side by side, the two heads look great together. And this is certainly the head that I will probably display it with the most, because that's just one of my favorite moments in that episode when the Meep does that turn from being cute and cuddly to just being completely horrible. So the angry sort of snarling head just looks brilliant. What a lovely expression there. You can see the teeth are bared. They've done a lovely job there with all the individual teeth painted white, the interior of the mouth black, and the pink around the lips. The eyes are now in more of a squinty snarl, which look fantastic. Again, the paint apps are very similar here as to the other eyes, with the gloss and all of the flecks of paint. And again, with the ears, you can see there's that wash in there that really highlights the detailing of the ears. But what a fantastic sculpt. It just looks absolutely amazing. And the heads just pop off incredibly easily. Very simple to swap in and out, which is really good. And then, like I said, comes with a variety of different hands. So it's packaged initially with sort of semi-closed hands, sort of quite cute. Try and make it look quite defenseless. And then you've got a variety of different ones. More open hands, so you can pose the character sort of talking and gesticulating in different ways. More closed hands. And of course, my favourite, the one with the little gun, which looks really, really great. Beautifully sculpted. I love the way how that sort of fits in the Meep's hand there. It's glued in, so it won't pop out. But I love the way that it's like the two fingers wrapped around it. And then that's just been painted in silver. But it looks phenomenal. I've had so much fun taking pictures of this little guy, because with the different hands, you can get it in such a variety of different poses, and of course with a different head, and with the articulation that it has, you can have like little head tilts and things which really add a lot of character. I absolutely love it. This is probably one of my favourite figures from the Doctor Who line. I gotta say, it's so good. So let's have a little chat about the articulation. You've got that ball joint in the head there, so you can tilt it forward, backwards, to the side. It gives it a lot more expression. Same with the shoulders. They can swivel all the way around and swivel out to the side. The elbows as well, they can swivel up and down, and they also twist out to the side, but because of the rubbery fur that's like dangling down, that sort of gets in the way a bit, but you can move it around a little bit. And then of course you have the articulation at the wrists. Those just twist all the way around, 360s. The waist is also ball jointed, so again you can tilt it forward, backwards, all the way around, and then you can sort of put it on an angle and stuff. Again, just really adding a lot more expression to the figure. And then that's it for articulation. No articulation at the legs, which I think is fine, because this is probably for the best. It just means that it's solid and it can stand up well. One thing I will say with the interchangeable hands is the pegs are quite rubbery, so popping them out, easy peasy. Putting them back in again, they do bend a little bit, which I was a bit worried a couple of times that the pegs were going to snap, that the rubber was going to tear, but they seem fine. But just something to be aware of when you're swapping out the hands. But overall, what a fantastic little figure. Absolutely brilliant. I love the fact that it's got the two heads. I mean, you couldn't do it any other way, really. And the multiple hands are just really great as well. It just adds a lot of expression, a lot of fun to this figure. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Really, really pleased that we finally have the Meep in the collection. And then if we move over to the 14th Doctor, So this is very much like what we had before in the Regeneration set, minus the coat. So there's some new pieces here in terms of the arms. I think the torso piece is literally the same as the Regeneration version, just minus the coat. But there are some really big improvements here, particularly in the head. So I remember when the 14th Doctor first came out, there was a lot of criticism about the likeness and the paint jobs and all of that sort of thing, which I think was very fair. And when you compare this one to the original one, it's a real night and day. The head is just so much better with this new Vortex Edition deco. Without having all of that heavy paint over it, it really brings out the sculpt and the likeness of Tennant, and he just looks a lot more like him. I know a few people probably want to know, can you just pop the heads off and swap them around so you can have the better head on the older figure? Unfortunately not, because I think it's constructed very much like the old 10th Doctors were. The neck peg, you can't pop it off. It's actually like plugged right into the torso, so unless you want to do some boiling and popping, that head is going to be stuck firmly in. But like I said, looking at the paint apps on the head, really, really great. Very neat and tidy around the eyebrows and the eyes and the lips. The hair has a lovely dark base, but then you've got the lighter brown over the top, so it really brings out the flecks of the hair and the detail of the sculpt. He looks really good. There's no 5 o'clock shadow, which I'm kind of glad about, because I've seen sort of people do customs of him and they've added like 5 o'clock shadow, because I think he's a little bit more rough and ready than the 10th Doctor was, and sometimes it just looks too heavy and it can look a little insane. So I'm glad they just left him clean shaven without going too bonkers with that. Moving downwards towards the torso, like I said, it's very much like what we've seen on the other figure, but obviously now we can see it in full. Really lovely sculpt here with all of the creases from where the buttons join up, and it all creases underneath the arms. It looks fantastic. Really lovely work there. You've got the little pockets on the side. You've got the details of the buttons as well on the front. And of course, you've got really good paint apps here in terms of the plaid pattern on that waistcoat. Turning around to the back, this is in blue, but there's actually a dark wash over the top. So again, it brings out that sculpt, and again, really lovely sculpting work here with all of the creases in the fabric. And you can see he's got the little belt around the back there with the little buckle that's been finished off in silver paint. Another big improvement from the original figure is the tie. If you look at the tie here, it's a lot more speckled. It's like speckled white and black, whereas the original one was sort of a bit more streaky. It looked like a bit more sort of almost like hand painted, really. But I think this looks a lot better, and it looks a lot closer to what we see on screen. So we've got brand new arms without the coat sleeves. Again, really well sculpted, all the baggy creases of the shirt, and then down towards the bottom, the upturned cuffs. And then moving down to the waist and the legs, this is just taken directly from the old 10th Doctor figure, and this has been finished off in the same plaid pattern as the waistcoat. And then going down to his feet, he has his usual Converse on, again, just from the 10th Doctor figure, and these have been finished off in grey and the light blue detail around the edge of the shoe there. And then he also comes with an accessory. He comes with his sonic screwdriver, which the original figure didn't have, so that will make people very happy to have that. And you can see this has been very nicely detailed. You've got the silver, you've got the gold accents around the bottom, and you've got the sort of beige tan of the main part of the hilt there. And then, of course, the blue emitter at the top. So that looks great and fits snugly into his right hand, as usual. In terms of articulation, he's got the ball-jointed shoulders, which is really great. It allows us to have some nice poses with him and the sonic screwdriver. So those swivel out to the side all the way around. He has articulation at the head, with the neck turning all the way around. He has articulation at the biceps, which swivel all the way around as well. Articulation at the elbows, which go up and down. And then, of course, articulation around the wrists that go all the way around too. And then articulation at the waist, which is a little bit hindered by the waistcoat, because that overhangs a little bit. And then articulation at the hips go forward and out to the sides, and then articulation at the knees. So overall, really lovely, this new 14th Doctor. I think they've done a great job with him. He looks great without the coat on, and yeah, that new head sculpt is such an improvement on the original. It really is night and day. And then having the two figures together, they look great, really fun to play with, lots of different posability. It's such a fun set. The 14th Doctor is a nice bonus, but of course the star of the show is the Meep, and I'm sure a lot of you will be buying it just solely on the basis of having your own Meep figure. So that's all for the figure set, but as an added bonus, if you're someone who owns a 3D printer, or you have access to a 3D printer, Al and his friend have been working in their spare time on a little passion project, which is a Meep spaceship as seen in the episode. So as a little thank you for all your support with the Doctor Who line, Al has released these STL files. So if you have a 3D printer, you can print off your own Meep spaceship and build it and paint it, and it would be a great accompaniment to the action figure. And that's just free to download, and just a little thank you from Al. Nothing to do with character options or anything like that. This is just something that he's done in his own time, because I know he's a big fan of the Star Beast as an episode, and I know he loves the Meep. There should be a link in the description below as soon as I've got access to the files, and you can download those and build your own Meep spaceship, which is something I'm going to be hopefully doing in the future as well. So that's a nice little bonus to round off this review. But of course, final thoughts on this set. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing. I'm really, really chuffed with this one. Meep is a great little figure. Lovely to just, at the moment, just living on my desk. So, yeah, looking really menacing and pointing a gun at me, making sure I get to work. Hope to see more from some of these more recent Doctor Who episodes in the future. Obviously, the next thing I'd love to see would be the Wrath Warriors. We saw the prototypes at Toy Fair, so maybe we might get a Wrath Warrior figure at some point in the future. That would be superb because they looked amazing. Thank you all for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it informative. Let me know in the comments below if you're going to be picking up the Meep and 14th Doctor set, and I shall see you all very soon for another Doctor Who action figure review. Bye bye.